Good Monday to you folks. Matrix Monday it is, October the 9th. I'm coming to you, and it's time for us to move into the Smokies. I've been looking forward to this episode. Life is busy right now. Um, I'm about to be out of pocket for about a week and a half starting next weekend. So I'm going to try to get at least 2 of these done in the Smokies before that happens, and then there'll be a little bit of gap before I can get the next one out. Work calls, we must do it, and I know all of you understand that. All right, so the last video we were at Fontana. Went to Fontana Village and stayed there. Had a great stay. Highly recommend that to anybody if you can swing the 89 bucks. And what I remember, if I remember correctly, and I think I saw on Big Bird's video, if you share a room, I don't think it costs any more for like 2 or 3 people inside that 89 bucks. So not a bad place to go and split some costs. All right, so we are starting at 166 today right here, and I'm just going to show you the mountain profile first. As we can see, today is all about butt kicking, and that's exactly what happened on this day. I was really fresh coming off that nice Nero into Fontana. I walked across this dam at night. The dam, Fontana Dam, is one of those places that you will never forget probably until you die. I remember seeing it in a lot of videos. The one that sticks out the most is probably Gator Miller's, because they were doing construction or something on it, and he had to climb over a fence or something, and he thought he was going to get in trouble as he's going across, but he looked down over the dam with his camera, and just something about it stuck with me. So it was really cool to see it, but I had never seen it at night. And you'll see in the video, for those of you who didn't see it the first time, man, I at least think I had the first video that I've seen on YouTube of crossing that thing at night, and it was gorgeous. That's a very cool experience. All right, other things we got to talk about the Smokies real quick is you got to have a pass to walk the Smokies. If you're a through hiker, it's just one rate to go all the way through. You register online. You have to print off your pass. You're going to stick one pass in the boundary. And I can't remember. It seems like you got to. No, I think that. Never mind. Yeah. So when you get up later in the Shenandoah, you're going to have to attach something to your backpack. But I don't think you did in the Smokies. But anyway, it's not that expensive. I think it was what, 25 bucks or 20 bucks to walk through the Smokies. However, you'll hear all of us complaining about it because it is like the worst supported trail or piece of the trail almost, at least in the South, I can say. No privies at most of the shelters. Just aggravating that you got to pay to go through there, but whatever, man. It's probably gorgeous most days. I just happened to catch the first 2 or 3 days where it was not gorgeous, and it was the weather made it miserable, but we had a good time anyway. So you see, we are starting at basically 1,700 feet right here. And by the end of the day, we're going to go up at least as high as 4,775 feet. So 3,000 feet we're going to climb. And then let's look, because we went all the way to Derrick Knob Shelter. So we're going to go all the way up to 5527 on this day over Thunderhead Mountain. So I want you to just process that real quick, because I can't remember if I wanted to go that far. That's 23 miles. This is definitely the most climbing I had to do in any one given period, and comparable almost to the Whites, other than, the trail is nothing like the Whites or those steeper sections of the Mahoosics or whatnot. But when it comes to physical exertion and calorie expenditure, yes, it's very comparable your first day in the Smokies. So for those of you who are doing shorter miles, man, I would suggest just planning on stopping at Molly's Ridge Shelter. You're still going to be climbing almost 3,000 feet to get up there. So take it slow going anyway for your first day, and then try to jump over to Derrick Knob Shelter maybe. And you'll see in the video, me and a couple of, well, actually 8 other guys ended up making it to Derrick Knob Shelter this night. The weather was crappy from just past Spencefield Shelter. This area right here was some of the most miserable trail walking or experience that I had on the entire trail. But getting there and having 8 other dudes suffering with me always makes things better. And that was actually a very enjoyable night. So shout out to all those guys if you ever see these videos. Other things to think about. So there is a lot of water, except for at the shelters. Again, aggravating as crap, man. You pay $20, you get to a shelter. This is one with a privy. Hey, great. I think that this one and this one over here, the Double Spring Gap Shelter, were two of the only ones that had a privy. But if you look, depending on what time of year it was, you might be dry camping when you're there, which just sucks. So you got to keep that in mind. Look at your guidebooks and make sure you're getting water before you get to those shelters. And at Derrick Knob Shelter, when we got there, it was a climb, probably a 50 or 60 yard climb, maybe even a 100-yard climb down the side of a mountain to get to the spring. And it was treacherous just because it was pouring rain and starting to get a little icy. So anyway, the last thing I remember about this is after I had passed Spence Field Shelter, coming up over Thunderhead and coming back down, this is when it started raining. And I will tell you, this took forever. And it's only, heck, 4 miles, 5 miles. And this took forever. These ups and downs right here, let me blow this up a little bit. These ups and downs right here were brutal. And they seem to never end. And I will tell you, it seemed like this shelter was running from me. I ended up getting soaked through. It started pouring rain. I decided not to put on my rain pants, because I kept thinking the shelter is going to be right around the corner. And eventually I thought that I missed the shelter. I thought that I'd walk past it, even though it's supposed to be right on the trail. How do I know that? Because there's no parentheses right here with like a .2 east, like you'll see Spence Field Shelter. This one you could miss. Russell Field Shelter, I can't remember, but it's right off the trail. I went down to it, but it's not far. This one's right on the trail, and I thought I walked past it because the weather was so rotten. And that started worrying me because I was having to go all the way to Siler's Bald. So anyway, keep it in mind. Know your weather, know what's coming, and the suck factor should have probably made me wait right here. But what I will tell you is the trail gives you what it will give you, and it provides. And that night, it provided me. This is the first time I met Kansas. This is the first time I met Colorado, I think. Yeah, Colorado. This is the first time I met Downward Cow, and this is the first time I met some other thru hikers. I'm forgetting your name right now, man. He summited, about a month after I did, but we spent the night here. I'll remember his name when I get it on the video, I hope. So the Smokies, why go do the Smokies? I said I'd probably never go back and do them again. I'm probably lying at this point. I do want to go back and do them again. I'd love to be doing them in the fall right now. That isn't going to happen this year. But I would love to go up and get to see some of those views that I missed. Because I missed views this whole first and second day. I had zero views whatsoever. So I definitely want to go back and do it again. All right, y'all. Let's switch over to the video. See what's going on. All right, y'all. This is going to be take 2. First take got interrupted by the boy coming home.
It is 4:47 in the morning, Tuesday, February the 28th, last day of February. Can you believe it? And what you are seeing is probably, if you've never been here, your first ever view of Fontana Dam at night. Yep, I thought I was gonna have to walk up here, and one of the guys working at the hotel was nice enough to give me a ride. So I spotted him, gave him a 10 spot, and I appreciate it, buddy. If you ever watch this video, man, nicest people in the world at that Fontana Lodge. Again, wanted to give another shout out to Sarah for giving me the lift yesterday, to Connie working the desk, to Christy working the restaurant, and then to that guy I didn't get his name for giving me a ride. Just awesome people. It's only $89 a night, man. It is a good reprieve for a weary soul. But the weariness is over, y'all. The assault is on. The rucksack is heavy. Ungodly heavy with 5 days of food. All right.
So things you got to think about, especially for the folks starting in February. Like I know Gucci Girl and Grumpy starting February 2nd. I'm sorry, starting in February. I love this view of the dam. It was such a gorgeous walk. Yeah, but what time are you going to leave wherever you stay? If you stay at the Fontana Hilton, which is the shelter right there, what time are you getting up out of there and starting to walk that morning? What time are you going to leave the Fontana Lodge? For those of you who like to sleep in a little bit, your sleep schedule doesn't work well in the winter. I hate to be the one that's going to crack or break that to you. So this is why I got up early. And yes, I do like to get up early. But in the end, I'm walking in the dark because I want to make some bigger miles. And people are like, oh, you should saunter. I just read some article on Facebook the other day about sauntering. And hey, side bunny trail real quick, but man, I am about tired of hearing everybody talking about, oh, well, I don't understand why everybody's walking so fast. You should saunter through the trail. Man, can we just all agree that it should be up to the individual hiker how fast they go? And what they don't need is somebody else chiming in to what they should be doing. It gets old. And just know if you don't think it gets old and you're that person that keeps doing it, it gets old, so stop. All right, enough of that. So think about what time you get up and leave, especially when you're entering the Smokies, because these climbs are tough, and getting it even up to Molly's Ridge Shelter is going to be tough, and that's the first one. The great thing is they gave you lots of options. So get up early so you can get to climbing in and enjoy your Smoky experience.
Here we go, boys. The infamous spot.
Now, what I'll say about the pass system in the Smokies, man, it's early in the season, right? This box was slap full of passes. So I never even saw a trail runner in the Smokies, though I did hear one was there. I think I passed one. He was sitting at a shelter, and I passed him. But they are there, but I don't know. Do they check your passes? I didn't hear one through hiker talking about it. Now this ain't early riser saying, "Hey man, go to the Smokies and try to get away with not paying your $20." Man, that's foolish because the ticket you're going to get is going to be expensive. $20 will seem reasonable compared to the ticket that you get. But anyway, it's just I don't think they're that big of a deal. Everybody really stresses about it and worries about it. My experience, at least early in the season, was they didn't give two rats butts about it. But anyway, that was my experience. I'm sure there's a ton of people out there that had a different one.
That joker is full of passes. Like I said, the riser is legit.
Sorry, let me pause this for Blossom. All right, we got
Fontana, my friends. The Smoky Mountain ass kicking awaits. 1 hour straight uphill. Continuing on. This is why I get up early, y'all. Sun's coming up in the Smokies. Gorgeous.
All right, I don't know why I filmed that weird Halloween looking shot with the light on my face, but that just shows you your mind goes crazy out there. You're pretty much insane the whole time you're walking the trail.
A lot of climbing. Over 2,000 feet. Start your morning off, or your afternoon if you get there after lunch. Later, y'all. 3,800 feet. It is 6:43. The lake is right there in the center, and the dam is right down there.
And this is kind of what I'm talking about. I've been walking for 2 or 3 hours up to this point, probably about 2.5 hours, and I'm still staring down at Fontana. It is a tough walk up to enter the Smokies, and I'm not trying to over dramatize it or sell it to you. That is what I'm saying though, is this day should start earlier for you, especially if you're the late sleeper again. What you don't want to do is have to walk a long way at night in the Smokies, for many reasons. But anyway, I suggest at least coming through here, get to your shelter before dark, and just give yourself plenty of time.
Gorgeous. It's 9:08, day 13. Probably won't be doing much filming today. I've never seen a lot of film in the Smokies. I watched Red Magic. He did pretty good. Definitely a lot of ups on day one. I'm almost at Molly's Ridge Shelter, which is 10 miles from the trailhead, which is about, I don't know, 1 point something from where I started, so it's been a pretty good day so far. 9 o'clock. So I started very early.
Look at this trail. Oh my gosh, I need to get back to the Smokies. That is gorgeous. I remember different parts, a little bit of rooty and rocky, but this is gorgeous trail. This is Molly Ridge Shelter right here.
Sleeping bag. Got a fireplace, that's kind of cool.
This is a typical,
But man, the wind is howling up here.
I'll rewind this a little bit.
Good.
So this is a typical shelter for the Smokies. Usually a two-tier shelter, usually holding 12 to 14 people. I kind of like the setups. Worked out well. We had 9 guys in there one night. Plenty of room. And you'll see these down here on the bottom. They have little slats, kind of like this is your space. This is your bunk. And I like that because that helps people mentally keep from going gear explosion and yard sale all over the place and taking up some of your room. As an introvert, I like little boards that designate this is your spot and this is your spot. Funny. Extroverts, I'm guessing, probably don't think about it, and they're usually the ones who have the yard sale over in the introverts' little lane. Ha! I know I'll get some blowback for that.
Got a fireplace, that's kind of cool. But man, the wind is howling up here. Why they build these on ridge lines? I'm sure.
Second fact about the Smokies. They build these shelters up on the very tip top of these ridge lines, and it is windy as AGLL. And so they have tarps usually hung up at each shelter, which is good and bad. It's good because it blocks the wind, bad because it's so loud when it pops all night that you can't even sleep. But anyway, yeah.
There's a reason. Just don't know what it is. You can see maybe up here. Why they build these on ridge lines?
So I want to show y'all this sign right here. So water source, boil all water, and then toilet area this way, right? That's where it points. So let me tell you what happens when you are at a shelter without a privy, but it has a toilet area this way. It means when you walk about 5 feet over in this off the trail right over here, there are literally fields of TP blowing around everywhere where people couldn't go down the woods and dig a cat hole. There's toilet paper just blowing all over the place. It is so disgusting. Why they can't go up there and build privies, I don't know, because they have trail runners up there that can manage them all the time. Anyway, aggravating about the Smokies.
There's a reason. Just don't know what it is. You can see maybe that wind, those clouds coming over that hill, whipping. Those who are keeping records, and I know some of you are logging some of these tips from guys like me or Kiwi or Red Madge or somebody in their guidebook, so they can I don't know, take the lessons learned and improve on them, not live the same experiences if you don't have to, unless they're good ones. But Fontana, gotta have a resupply sent to you. You can either have it sent to the post office. The hours are very limited, like Monday through Thursday, 11:30 through 3 or something like that every day, which ain't that big of a deal. As long as you got your trip planned and you get there, you're not getting there on a dang Friday, then you're screwed. Better bet is to send it to Fontana Lodge. They'll get mail every day. They're open every day. If you're a non-guest, it costs $5 to get your box, but it's a sure bet versus the post office.
All right, Joe, we covered all this in the last video, but certain things that are coming back to my mind right now is rain gear. I have not been in a hard rain up to this point, a steady hard rain. Going up to Blue Mountain Shelter, like night 3 or something, I was wet pretty much the whole day, but it wasn't a downpour. This day right here, day 13, I was going to get hit with torrential downpours and rain blowing sideways. And this was just the start of what was to come. My experience through the North Carolina mountains, which were not pleasant in a lot of instances. So this is where your rain gear is really important for those of you starting in February and early March. I went to a rain kilt later on, as you know, but man, I just, with every ounce of my being, suggest taking rain pants or some kind of wind pants with you, because the wind is just brutal. And when it's getting down the temps are down in the low 30s and that wind's whipping, man, you're getting wind chills down in the teens or single digits. So have something, have that wind barrier for your pants. A lot of people are like, man, do I need rain pants? Do I just get wet? If you're starting out early in the season, you need rain pants. I promise you. And gloves too. I was carrying 3 pairs of gloves. I was carrying the Z-Packs outer shell. I was carrying a light blue pair of wool inserts, and I was carrying, um, some regular gloves, wool gloves.
Woo! Before I step out into this wind, I'm protected right here. Let you see what we're dealing with today.
This right here is typical of the Smokies. You can see, like, you can't see the wind here, but you can see what it's doing on these ridge lines as you're walking, and it's brutal. Just foot stomping the point of you need wind gear, and when the rain starts blowing sideways, you just need to be ready.
All right, remember when I said that 5,000 was as high as we're going? Still kicking my ass. I bet it's usually gorgeous up here. That's what it looks like today, y'all. Early risers.
I have seen videos of this place right here, and it is gorgeous views. I just didn't get any.
Day 13 went 24 miles. Got just destroyed by a storm, soaking wet.
All right, so what's going on here is from that last video, it started pouring on me right after I crossed over that open area, and it didn't stop until later that night. So this is the next morning, and this is where I'm just beating myself up for not filming, but it picks up on day 14 right here.
Me and 9 other dudes ended up drying out at Derrick Knob shelter. Well, I just should say we got to Derrick Knob shelter. We were all soaking wet. Slept pretty good. Moving towards Clingmans Dam. Supposed to be nasty again today. And by the way, I know it's dark, but I want to capture these thoughts. I know when I get to Clingmans Dam today, probably not gonna be able to see anything. Some people would be like, man, why don't you wait till tomorrow when it's gonna be sunny? My theory is the trail's gonna let you see what the trail wants you to see. You start messing around with the timeline to see one side, you're gonna miss something else later on. So have faith that the trail is gonna provide, and it already has.
All right, if there's any point, a tip, and everybody who watched my through hikes are going to get a chuckle out of it, but everybody was telling me, hey man, this is how you can prevent all the wind noise because it's annoying when we watch it. And I pushed back a lot. I was like, man, hey, keep telling me what to do from your lounge chair, but out here, I'm not going to take a whole lot of extra time. I'm just filming these really for me and my family, and I hope everybody else will join on, but I wasn't too concerned. But if you are concerned about getting rid of wind noise, everybody was saying, hey man, put a sock over your phone, which is hilarious. Or tape a little piece of cotton over the mouth hole. And that, I probably could have done that. After a while, I was just fighting it just to fight it, which is just kindergartenish, and I apologize for that. But the point I was making back there is a really unique point. And I want to make sure that, like, you guys might not buy into it, but I want to make sure that you understand what I'm saying. A lot of us go on the trail. I'm going to pause this real quick. This is probably going to be a long diatribe. A lot of us go on the trail. And we have a lot of things in our lives that we do, i.e., a lot of us are very controlling. We like to have full control of our schedule, and we like to plan things out. And others are the exact opposite. They just want to play it as it comes. And I will tell you, I wanted to be a play it as it comes kind of guy on the trail. There's no doubt you got to do some planning. And at times I would find myself over planning. But one thing I was able to sit back in like a chair is the thought process that, man, I'm not gonna overuse the Weather Channel or Weather Bug and try to just like drive myself to get somewhere because of the weather, or I will sit at a shelter for 2 days just so I can get up to Clingmans Dam and have a great view. If the trail taught me anything, it was that it's going to provide you what it wants to provide you, what you need. It's going to provide you exactly what you need in this experience. And I am such a firm believer in that now. And really, that's just a microcosm of life, because that's exactly what life does. And when we sit there and fight life and try to change things and try to like adjust our whole schedule just to hope that this one perfect moment line up, we start missing other moments that would have been perfect that we don't even know about now. So my attitude on the trail, and I would just hope that more people can do this, for those of you going to set off in 2018, or those of you who are southbound on your 17s, man, just lean back into the experience a little bit and just go. Go at your pace. I'm not saying if it's going to snow or if it's going to pour one day, don't take a zero. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying don't try to create experiences, because the trail is going to give you what it wants to give you. Just walk. Just walk and be you. And things are going to happen that are supposed to happen. And I knew I got my butt kicked down south. I knew that I was getting my butt kicked for a possible reason. And I was just hoping that it was going to be, I was going to have good weather in the whites. Over like Mount Washington, and then ultimately on Katahdin, and all of it happened. Just got to lean back into it and trust that the trail is going to provide, because it does.
To get to the next shelter, these storms hit. I'll have to check the weather when I get up to Clingmans to make sure that I have time to make it. If not, I might just have to go down to Clingmans until this afternoon when the storms go by.
All right, so I had 11 miles to go to Clingmans, and it's all uphill. And I freaking hauled it. I was probably averaging 3.5 miles an hour here, slowing down a little bit when I was filming, so I didn't film a lot. Got up to Clingmans, looked at the weather call. The front was almost at me. Underneath the path going up, the concrete footpath going up to Clingmans, underneath there's a room, an open little storage room. And I was like, hey, man, I can wait it out here. Smelled kind of like pee and beer, but whatever. I'm an ex-Marine, man. That's normal. But anyway, I sat in there for a minute and like, you know what, I can make it. And as I had about 3 more miles to go, and got out and just booked it downhill and made it to the shelter. And right when I came in that last shelter, you'll see later, the rain was just starting to fall as I got in there. So things work out.
Roller coaster. And it never ended. I swear that shelter. I thought I'd walked by, I thought I'd missed it. Finally came upon it. Ended up 9 of us there last night. 9 really good dudes. Most of them in their 20s, college kids. One guy just got out of the army. Really good time. Oh, and then Bulldog showed up. So if anybody's following trail journals, I think I said that yesterday, but I called up a Bulldog. That was cool. Not much of a talker, but that's okay. He's an older gentleman. Glad he made it. This is pretty awesome right here. Wow. Freaking awesome.
Again, typical Smokies right here. The weather can be unbearable. It was cold. It was windy. You can just see how fast that wind's moving these clouds. It was a cool view, though.
We're awesome. Here we go, y'all. Top of Clingmans Dome. This is what the trail's getting up today.
You can hear how little wind there is in my microphone, but I'm not kidding you. It is blowing about 40 to 60 miles an hour. Gust higher than that.
All right, everybody. Early riser. It is day 14, March the 1st. Things should be pretty crazy from Amicalola to Hawk Mountain Shelter right now. I would not want to be at Hawk Mountain Shelter tonight, man. I think it's going to be a little crowded. Anyway, I wish everybody the best. Currently at Mount Collins Shelter, that's at mile marker just short of 203. Pretty cool events today, other than I woke up about 3:30. There was 9 of us in the shelter last night at Derrick Shelter, who all got caught by the rain, all of us soaking wet. It was good to have that camaraderie. So yeah, though I'm a introvert last night, man, those are some really cool guys that I got to had the privilege to stay with in the shelter, and wouldn't be surprised if some of them show up here tonight. This is about 14 miles away. Woke up early, got my stuff on. I just can't stay locked up in a shelter all day pulling a zero, or man, I'll walk in the rain. I just can't do it. Got all my stuff on as quietly as possible, but I tell you, the wind was blowing so hard, and the tarp was whipping so hard that I don't think I disturbed anybody as I made my exfil. And it started hitting the trail, and not too far down up the trail, I got cell phone service and checked the weather and saw that about 11 o'clock today that storm front was going to hit. Did the calculations in my head, figured I could probably make it.
Another takeaway, I keep fighting for people to get Verizon before they get out there, because there are tons of times when you get up on these ridge lines, especially down south, you're going to have coverage. You're going to have at least a little bit of 4G that you can look at some radar maps and tell the weather.
Got up to Clingmans Dome, as y'all saw, man, weather socked in, wind up there was horrendous. Thought about staying there, looked at my watch, 4 miles to the shelter, said to hell with it. I'm a risk taker, so got my stuff back on and started running down the trail, basically. A lot of it downhill, but then you hit one massive uphill that was brutal. The uphills in the Smokies are brutal, so just be ready for them. I really don't remember hearing much about the uphills or how hard the Smokies are in a lot of videos. And I think that's because usually people are overwhelmed with the beauty. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see any of that. I've just seen the intense wind, intense rain, and tonight it's going to start being intensely cold. So anyway, I came to the Smokies when I was younger. Don't really feel like I'm missing a whole lot, even though I wish the views would have been there. But like I said earlier this morning, the trail's going to give you what it gives you. I'm not going to wait around and try to plan my days like a trip to Everest, where you're trying to just figure out what day to summit. There's only one mountain I'll do that for, and it's for Katahdin. The rest of this is just a Benny trying to get to there. Alright, y'all, I may decide to stay here, trying to develop my strategic plan ahead to get to Hot Springs so I can resupply. Probably have to stop at Standing Bear Hostel. I think I can get there, in 48 hours.
For you guys who are entering the Smokies, I plan on doing the Smokies in 4 days. A lot of people won't be able to do that. So your resupply options are carry a lot of food and be miserable going up those hills, or you're going to have to stop in Gatlinburg, which you can get. Newfound Gap is where you can hitch a ride into Gatlinburg and resupply there. Not a great resupply town. It's really not. It's a tourist trap. I like the place, but just not somewhere you're going to go in and find a great resupply. The options just aren't many there.
It's cold. Well, it's not really too cold here yet. It's just windy, rainy.
So for me, like I said in there, though, my plan was to get to Standing Bear Hostel, which is right outside the Smokies, and then just get a couple things for resupply and then make it into Hot Springs. That's exactly what I ended up doing. But I will tell you, I pushed some big miles through the Smokies, 23 on the first day, only got 14 the second day, and then I made those up. I did almost my first 30 2 days from this video right here on day 3. I almost did 30 or 31 that day, which is a long way in the Smokies. All right, so not a whole lot of lessons learned here, but I'm telling you, you guys starting early, you're going to get to the Smokies. Depending on how fast you are, some of you might not get to the Smokies till the 1st of April if you start in February. Man, that's fine. That's great. Hopefully the weather will cooperate for you, but you can get snow all the way up into May in the Smokies, so you just got to be ready. And then think about how you're going to resupply when you get in the Smokies. And for some of you, I know Big Bird, I watched his recent video on planning, and he was a guy who had to go into Gatlinburg, and that's perfectly fine. For other people that can make it in 4 or 5 days, you can carry the food on your back and make it a Standing Bear. Either get a package sent there, or they've got a little store there it's fairly decent. We'll talk about that later when we get there. But they'll get you enough to where you can get in the Hot Springs just fine. All right, y'all, that's it for day 13 and 14. If you got any questions, I'm reading all the questions, by the way. In fact, I might kick over real quick and look at some and get back on the net and answer a few of those. But if not, I hope everybody's doing well. I hope your lives are going smooth. I hope you're staying in the balcony, not getting sucked into the matrix and all the drama. I will tell you, man, I got to quit looking on Facebook. Y'all are the ones who got me addicted to Facebook now, and now I'm getting sucked into all the political mess that you get to avoid on the trail. So I need to avoid that some more. And then now I get sucked into Twitter sometimes too. So anyway, just such a polarizing time in politics, and hope everybody can stay in the balcony. I keep fighting to stay in the balcony with all this crap. All right, y'all. Congratulations to my through hike fellow 2017 bros. Dan Haley just finished the other day, man. Proud of you, Nightcrawler. Man, that was awesome. I hit him up on his Facebook page. I just told him I was proud of him, man, and that was one of the most entertaining through hikes I believe I've ever seen. Again, might not be for all of you, but that guy is entertaining. So congratulations to him. Still waiting for Black Appalachian to come up on the net. It's been a while. Worried about him because the snow's already hitting in the whites. And man, if I think anybody else, oh, and obviously Disciple and Not by Sight. I think I said this last week, but they're still putting out their videos, and their summit videos coming up here in the next couple of days. So excited to see that, and sorry that it's over because I enjoyed that one as well. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of your week, and I hope the weekend treats you well. Hopefully I'll come back up with one more video before I have to come off the net for a while.
All right, y'all. I thought I'd answer one quick question because I think it's a good one. Don P. asked me, knowing what you know now, would you go back and hike the AT again? Would you do it again? If you could reverse, if you know everything you know now, and you could go back in time last February, would you do it again? And I'll tell you, I'm already starting to think of how I can do it again anyway. Man, it's such a magical experience. Again, I'm still not that pumped about having to go do the whites remain again. I tell you, man, probably didn't enjoy those as much as I should have, except for Katahdin. That was awesome, and a couple of days in the whites, but otherwise those are rough. But I definitely am looking forward to doing parts of the Southeast again. Cannot wait. And even Pennsylvania, man, I'll be honest with you, I loved it. But all the things that we enjoy on the trail all depends on the weather that was there. The days my family were there were better in my mind. Pennsylvania was great for me. I got to slap pack a lot of it, and at the end of the day, I got to go see my family most of it. So right now, Pennsylvania is like one of my top states, but I have to recognize that I'm biased because of all that was going on. So yeah, Don, I would freaking go do it again. If I had 3 more months and didn't have to be away from my family the whole time, I'd probably go do it again right now, to be honest with you. I'm ready. My body is fully recovered now. I am able to do things like wind sprints and run, which I don't run a lot. I hate running, but I can do it now. I'm working out. Just any exercise that I want to do now, I can do. I'm loving it. Feeling great. I don't stand up and hurt anymore. My legs aren't tight when I stand up that much anymore, a little bit sometimes. So it's funny, man. You torture yourself, and I was sitting here miserable for 3 months. My body just hurt, and my ankles hurt, and my knees were killing me. And now that it's over, I'm ready to go again. And I kind of use it. The analogy is drinking, right? Like I hadn't been a big drinker lately in the past 5 or 10 years because I've got ulcerative colitis. But you remember those days, and in the Marine Corps, I was a heavy drinker, and you'd go out on a Friday night and just get polluted. Saturday morning comes around, like, oh God, I feel terrible. I don't want to drink anymore. Like, why do I do this to myself? You go through Saturday hungover. Saturday night I wouldn't go out. Sunday starting to feel better, and by Monday you feel great again. I'm like, man, I can't wait till Friday so I can just go do it all over again. Kind of the same way with the AT, I think, or just hiking in general. I am so ready. I have bought more gear. I have replaced stuff that I wore out, and I am ready to go. Now I just got to find the gap in the schedule to do it. Appreciate the question, and man, I appreciate all of you commenting. We're not getting the views that we used to, but man, that's okay. Again, the point of these videos is just to help folks that are going to either section hike or through hike, and hopefully give you some tips and something deeper than just gear, because gearology is important, but there's a lot of other people talking about gear on here. I want to talk about those things that are a little bit deeper and can help you in the mental aspects as well. All right, y'all. Deuces.